Everyone stand and repeat the prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have copies of the agenda. Mr. Lawson, agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the agenda.
I have a motion, we approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Austin, superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got one item today, is our teacher spotlight segment. I'll ask Principal Beth Turner to please come forward. We've got Career Tech East here today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to share our teacher spotlight from CTC East this afternoon. We have with us Ms. Heather Sowell. She is our instructor for our new educator preparation program that began last year. So when deciding on the best candidate for who was going to help us build this program from the ground up, Ms. Sowell was the obvious candidate. She has 19 years of experience in DeSoto County schools that range from elementary to middle to high school subjects, including special education. And so her experiences and her depth of knowledge in those areas made her that right choice to help grow our future educators here in DeSoto County. So thank you for your continued support of career and technical education and the opportunity to highlight Ms. Heather Sowell and the work that she's doing with our educator preparation program this afternoon.
Hi, I'm really excited to be here this afternoon to share my program with you guys. I'm Heather Sowell, like she said. I have had 19 years of experience in DeSoto County. I've worn many hats as a teacher. I have not just taught, I've also coached, sponsored, been the head of the drama department, FCS, other clubs and organizations in schools as well. I've enjoyed every minute in the classroom, and that is all, even the hard minutes, the good minutes, and the hard minutes. I really do truly believe that teaching is a passion. It's not a gift. It's not necessarily just a career or a job, and I really want to pass that on to my students. I also want to pass this on to this program because I believe that in DeSoto County, if we start growing our own, they will come back and they will have that same passion for teaching that so many of our really good DeSoto County teachers have, and continue to help our county and our educational system. Our program is really just simply that. It's designed to teach teachers to teach. But unfortunately, that's not a very simple process. Our curriculum is designed to teach the basics first. That's history of education, human growth and development, and then we go into multiple intelligences instead. After that, we start teaching the more complicated facets of teaching. Classroom management and writing lesson plans and actually, obviously, practicing teaching. We also, while I realize the importance of learning those basic information of teaching, I also know that teaching is not really something that you can learn from a book. It's also not really something that you can learn from a lecture. So I designed the program really based around that strategy, that hands-on real life experience in our program or for our program. Before I talk to you about all the things that we are doing in our program and how we are learning through serving, I want to preface this with when Beth asked me to come in and be a part of this program, and I really think that it was a wonderful opportunity for us to have the program. I started thinking about how I was going to build it from the ground up because really we have a very a very general curriculum. And so when I started looking at it, I thought this is just the best thing ever, because I get to finally be in a classroom and have the autonomy to teach it how I would like to teach it, and teach these kids how to teach with passion. So I started thinking about my first day as a teacher. And I went to college. I had gone to college. I had gotten 2 degrees. I had spent the summer getting my classroom ready at Hernando Elementary. I actually started in 1st grade. I had done my student teaching in kindergarten. So I was going to get to see all those familiar faces again. I was so excited. And I thought, I have done all the things. I have read all the books. I have gotten this classroom ready. It is just this magical pale yellow classroom that no student is going to resist. And so they started filing in with their parents. And of course, all the school supplies came, all the new backpacks, all the smiles, a few tears. And the hoopla died down. And I looked around and thought, I have no idea what to do. There are 27 little faces looking at me, and they are all looking at me for direction. And I am now the adult in the room. I panicked slightly, made it through the rest of that day. And I always laugh because I got home about 7 o'clock that night, and I looked at my mother and I said, no amount of education can prepare you for this. It did, obviously, but I said, I am going to, every day that I go into this classroom to teach these future educators, I'm going to think about that. We are going to design this whole program around real world experiences. So, of course, you can't throw a bunch of teenagers out into a classroom right at first, right? So we start at our school. And the very first thing we do is we have a safety lesson, because for DeSoto County School District, that is our #1 priority, is to keep kids safe. So we come in and we are actual risk assessors, and we talk about risk assessment and the things in the building that might hurt a child or might end up being an accident for the child. We go through the entire building. That's your picture up there. We wear our little hard hats. We go through, we list those things, and then we go into our classroom and do the same thing. And then we create posters for our classroom and for the school building for safety reasons. It's a really good little activity, fun activity for the kids. We get to walk around. We get to really see what could happen, because they don't always know why we make the rules and the procedures that we do. And from there, we lead into school procedures and how to create those procedures to make the classroom welcoming and safe. And so they get to actually play a part of those procedures, and they really learn a lot through that. The next thing we do at the school is we start our history of education program or unit. Our history of education program, though, is kind of, I allow the kids to have a voice on how they want to learn. I don't, only because through their learning styles, we take a learning style inventory. And most of my kids that come in the classroom do learn with hands-on experiences. So with the history of education, I thought I could do a PowerPoint. We could do notes. I could teach them that teaching practice, and then I can give a test, and that will be the end of it. But when it's very hands-on and kids learn better with hands-on material, I thought, what would a better project be? So what we did was we created interactive timelines. I gave them an actual era in history where they had to research that era, find out how the things that were happening in the world affected education and how it changed our education up to now, up to the present. And then they presented those to each other. That was their first teaching experience. But not only did they have to present those projects, they actually had to come up with an activity that went with their era. So we got to do all kinds of interesting activities and fun things in the classroom where they were actually teaching history, not just the history of education. They were teaching history. A lot of my students came back to me later and said, I learned more through that than taking a test. And so I have kept that tradition. That was last year. I started that last year. We kept that tradition this year. I also allowed them to dress up. if they wanted to. I dressed up, and I'm so sorry I didn't take pictures of that, but we had 80s, 90s, 70s going on. It was great. We also snacked through the centuries. So they researched the snacks that kids would bring to school through the centuries, and I had those available for them the day that we presented our project. So we snacked through the centuries as well. And that was their first teaching experience in front of each other. The next thing that we implemented last year was we partnered with Lewisburg Middle School with the SPED department to help kids who were struggling in math and ELA. This was a great opportunity for my children to see what virtual teaching was like. We went over Teams. We had a lot of kinks at the beginning, just trying to get everybody kind of our computers all together. I don't have any pictures of that because it was over computer. They got to pair with a student, and they tutored them for 20 minutes a week. They not only learned how to tutor online or how to teach online with those activities, they also learned how to remediate activities, how to look at the state standards, and how to scaffold those state standards according to the children's struggles. It really helped those kids at the middle school. At the end of the semester, we actually went to the middle school. They got to meet their student face to face. We did a little science project where we blew up pumpkins. It was really fun for everyone. And so it was a really good, very good opportunity for them to get started with teaching without actually being in the classroom. We are partnering with Olive Branch Middle School this year. And so we will start that. We were actually going to start it tomorrow, but they're having a walkathon. So we're going to start it next Friday. And my year one students will begin the service next Friday for Olive Branch Middle. The next project that we kind of go into with that Teams tutoring is human growth and development in the classroom. This is a huge unit that lasts a long time, and this is when we first get to go into the classroom. So this has just happened this week for my year one students. They have been super excited. Last year, we partnered with Lewisburg Intermediate, Lewisburg Primary, Chickasaw Elementary, Overpark Elementary, and Lewisburg Middle for the Human Growth and Development Project. They actually create a child, a mock child. It could be their experiences, or they can make up a child with different experiences. They create that child, and as we go through the Human Growth and Development Project, they add to that child. So finally, you get the project that's over here on the left, where it's the whole child and what the child does in the end, or how the child succeeds. During this project, we go to specific grades while they're learning that stage of development. So they get to go in, they help with lunch, they get the nitty gritty of teaching with this. They get to help with lunch, recess, projects, they get to wipe a few noses, they all of the things. This past week, it was really funny. One of my students, we came back to discuss, and she said teeth were falling out everywhere. They were in pre-K and kindergarten, and she said, I think 2 people lost their teeth the hour we were there. And so that was really cute. It was good for them to get to see that, because we want them to see those things and see what really teaching is not just about teaching academic areas. It's about taking care of the whole child. Our gifted and SPED and multiple intelligences, it was really, really difficult for me last year to figure out what to do with this. SPED is kind of my passion. It's where my heart is. So I really wanted to work with the kids on how, as a regular ed teacher or a SPED teacher, to really read an IEP and understand the accommodations and what the kids need, and how to work with kids that struggle academically. Or behaviorally. So what I did was I had read this book. This is called A Fish in a Tree, a couple of years ago, and I absolutely loved it. It's about a girl who struggles in reading, and she struggles in reading until 5th grade, until someone realizes that she has a problem. And so a really good teacher comes along, and he helps her work through those struggles in reading. And so we took this character and all of her description, and we created a mock child. And we worked with our student services coordinator to put the child in tier 2 and tier 3. We gave her accommodations. We found out that those were not working. So we started the mock SPED process. We wrote an IEP, very general one. We wrote an IEP with accommodations. And then we held an IEP meeting with parents, with admin, and with the teachers. And so it was a really interesting experience for the kids, and they learned a lot. After that, it was around holiday season, as you can tell. We went into 2 gifted classrooms at Chickasaw Elementary, and so we had to create an enrichment activities and teach those activities for them. We actually introduced those units for them. And then we went to Lewisburg Middle School and Lewisburg High School and worked with their resource and CDC kids at the very end. And we did holiday activities. So that was really, really good for my kids to be able to see that after they had created that IEP. We also were invited to participate in Upper Park Elementary STEAM Night. We've been invited back when they have that in the spring. My kids came up with all of the activities. This was completely student-led. They did it all. I really just stood back and helped them kind of place things where they needed to go. They even bought the suckers they went out of their way to do this, spent their own time, bought some material for it just so that the kids would have a great time, and they really did. And they led the kids, as you can see in some of those pictures, they were actually doing the experiment. So it was really fun time. This was a really interesting opportunity that we had last year. We were actually invited back to the Transitioning into College Writing Conference at Ole Miss this year. It was kind of at the same date as our Ed Rising Conference, so we weren't able to do that this year. Last year, we went into this conference in order to see what professional development was like as a teacher. And so we were the only high school students there. They had wanted high school students there for years. They asked us to come in since we were new, and so we did. And at first, I thought they actually designed a few of the classes for my children, specifically for my children. And then but then they asked them to come in for a public forum. And it was really a neat thing to see, because you have middle school, high school, and college professors that all are in ELA or writing, and they literally took their advice as far as what high schoolers struggle with in relation to college writing. So my kids were very transparent, very honest with them, and actually some of this during some of this conference, those professors have used what they said this year at Ole Miss. The reason I know that is because my sister is a college professor at Ole Miss. She teaches writing, or she teaches comp at Ole Miss, and they have just begged and begged us to come back. They would love us to come back and actually present. So next year, if the opportunity arises when we're not going to the Ed Rising Conference, we plan to actually present. So my year 2 students will actually present at a professional development conference before they're ever teachers. We also held the first CTC East first annual Fall Fest. We are holding the second one on October 20th. The Fall Fest actually was designed to raise a little money for our program, first of all, but second of all, my kids said we never get to interact with other programs. So when we decided to do this, we decided to make it a networking type opportunity for everyone at CTC East. As you can see, we had all kinds of games. This was also student-led. They created the activities, brought the games. They decided what was going to go in the concession stand. I had them help me fill out the fundraiser form. They got to see how that process works. Again, the good and the bad of teaching. And this was just really a fun time for all that last year. I hope it is this year too. So they also created the advertisements. There were little advertisements for it. Okay, this was the best part of the year last year. This is our student intern. internship. They went to Upper Park Elementary School and Chickasaw Elementary School 2 times a week. They went in as teacher's assistants. So we did our elementary portion of our internship by the end of the semester. They got to know their kids, and they really got to know their kids. A lot of them came back because they were finished. They came back for their end of the year programs. My kids actually went back to see everybody at the end of the year. It was a wonderful experience for everyone involved. The teachers begged for us to come back because, again, they acted as assistants and they really did work. They went above and beyond last year with their internship. They did have to teach a lesson at the end. They had to also, this is when we were writing lesson plans, they had to create a 5-day lesson plan and then teach one of those days. Just like student teaching. In that internship, kindergarten decided that they were going to go to the zoo, and they asked us if we would like to help with the Memphis Zoo field trip. We did. We even took time at our school to fill out the field trip form. We had to get quotes. We had to figure out what the mileage would be. We had to do all of those things. Again, just like our other projects, they had to act as the teacher. They also had to design it around the standards they were teaching. So we had a really interesting time with this. Some of it was a little hard or challenging, but we did have a really interesting time with this. And then they got to go on field. We went to the field trip with them. They chaperoned the field trip. And this was with Over Park Elementary. So I talked to a lot of the principals last year, a lot of the school teachers last year, faculty and staff, and the thing that everyone said was it went back to the first day of school. We have so many new teachers that come into these schools after student teaching, and they really don't understand or know what to do those first few weeks. Mainly because when you go into student teaching, you're going in when everything is already established. So you're not seeing the somewhat chaotic part of the first day of school or first week of school. So Ms. McGee invited us to Pleasant Hill Elementary. She was so wonderful about it. We went the first day of school. Some of my students actually went before and helped set up some classrooms on a volunteer basis. And then they came in the first day of school and they literally got to see the first day of school in a teacher's perspective. The funniest part about that is that they came back the next day and said, I have never been so tired. And so I said, well, you just experienced your very first teacher tired. And so and we laughed about that. And then we, of course, discussed everything that goes on with the first day of school. But I'm really glad they got to see that because they may never get to see that when they are in college. Not sure why that did that, but we are now interning at Olive Branch Middle School. This is also a little bit funny. We had done all of our internship at elementary. So when we started this, my year 2 students started back at Olive Branch Middle. And again, they thought they were really ready to do that. They walked into Olive Branch Middle. They went into their classroom. They came out. They were getting off the bus. And they had not told me this yet, but they expressed to Ms. Turner that they wanted to go back to elementary. And so after they told me that, I said, I understand. My longest stint was in middle school. I loved middle school, but I understand that. And I said, but we've got to give it a few times. So let's give it a few times before you really make a real honest decision on whether you want to go to middle or elementary. And so we are really in the middle of this internship. We're finishing up in November. And so it has grown on some of them. Now, some of them swear that they're going back to kindergarten, so. We also, this year, we started taking on the tradition of the homecoming floats for CTC East. This is to give back to our school, and we designed 2 of the homecoming floats so far for Olive Branch and for Center Hill. We even did a little thing for the lawn public safety golf carts, so they were really excited about that. We did combine with our advanced manufacturing program to do this. So we learned how to measure things out and know how much material that we needed. And now I would love for you to stay tuned for the Lewisburg Homecoming Float because it will be magical. That is their theme this year. We also this year donated the free little library into the city of South Haven at Central Park. This was actually a year-long process. We decided last year that we needed to give back to our community. We decided as a class or as a group what we really needed in DeSoto County. They had lots of ideas that I didn't even think of. So it was really nice to hear their ideas. They said that there's a lot of places where kids cannot get easy access to books. So our libraries are wonderful here in DeSoto County, but a lot of times kids can't get to them to access them. And so we started talking about ways that we could get books to those children. We even researched areas that needed the most help. And so we put in for a free little library, and they sent us all the material except for the books. We did have to collect the books, which my kids have started doing. We've got boxes and boxes of them so far. And we have made a little schedule of who is going to go back and make sure there's still books in there every month and kind of revamp the books if we need to. But they did a wonderful job on this. We also started this year CTC East Student Spotlights. Those are on all of our social media pages. My kids put those together. They put the backgrounds together. They decide what questions we ask the kids. They take the pictures. They do all of this. The only thing that I do is actually post it onto the sites. They have really had a good time with that. And the other students from the other programs always ask me, when is it my turn? When am I going to get to be spotlighted? Which I wasn't really expecting from high school students, but they do want to be spotlighted. What we are looking at the rest of the year is that we are on our way. This is the first time that we will have gone to this state conference and competition. My students are kind of pumped about that. We're going to go to the state conference in October. The competition is in January. They're preparing for that conference. My year 2 students are preparing for that conference and preparing for those competitions. We get to go to Mississippi Valley to attend the conference, and then the competition will be in Ridgeland in February. They're also shadowing. We started that this week. They're shadowing different areas in education, not just teaching, because some people want to go in different areas. So they'll be shadowing administration, specialists, counselors, coaches, and sponsors through the rest of this year. Community service, we're still currently brainstorming ways that we can still help our community. Not just within the schools, but we do have a few book fairs booked where we're going to go in and volunteer our time there. STEM nights, field days, of course, we'll be attending. But if you know of any opportunities, please reach out to me because we're very eager to do that. I want to thank you very much for allowing me to spotlight this program. I didn't really want to spotlight myself. I really want to spotlight these kids. They have gone literally above and beyond my expectation the past 2 years. And like I said, I feel like this program is planting seeds in so many more ways than just these students. We are really reaching out to the county because I feel like not just they need that hands-on experience to learn how to be a teacher, but also those kids need them. And I think that they are really responding well to the high school kids. And I believe that this will truly pay us back in dividends in the end because we're growing our own. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're exactly right. That's the reason that we started this program is to grow our own teachers, and especially, with the teacher shortage that we've seen in recent years. So we think this is very important, and not only work with them while they're in high school, but then track them when they go to college, and then the end goal is for them to come back to the DeSoto County Schools. So great job with the program. Always love seeing y'all in action out there tutoring and doing different things, and so we appreciate all your hard work with the program. And Ms. Turner, we appreciate your leadership. Thank you. And that concludes the superintendent.
The attorney's report.
I don't have a report, but if I had been in Heather's program, I might have been a teacher. Very, very exciting, but no, I have no report. Thank you.
This time we'll approve the minutes of the September 21st, September 28th board meeting. I have a motion.
Make the motion to approve the minutes.
Have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Consent agenda, A through M. Mr. Where's your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. New business. Request to pay vendor purchasing rule issue. Mr. Wiggins.
Yes, sir. In your packet is a letter from the principal of Olive Branch Middle School stating the circumstances surrounding the invoice received for services rendered before submitting a requisition. The matter has been addressed with the employee who failed to follow the purchasing rules, and the school is requesting from the board to pay for the services from their student activity fund.
Mr. Usleton, your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the request to pay the vendor for the purchasing rule issue at Olive Branch Middle School.
Or do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Request to pay vendor purchasing rule again, Ms. Wiggins.
Yes, sir. In your packet is a letter from the principal of South Haven Middle School stating the circumstances surrounding an invoice from her Jones for the balance of yearbooks not purchased by students online. The matter has been addressed with the employees who failed to follow the purchasing rules, and the school will adjust the quantity of yearbooks ordered for the upcoming school year. South Haven Middle is requesting from the board to pay for the services rendered from their student activity fund.
Mr. Usleton, your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the request to pay the vendor for the purchasing rule issue at South Haven Middle School.
Board, do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Rescind board policy GBQAB, 25% rule on, that's the retirement. Ms. Hutchins.
Yes, sir. We're asking to rescind this policy because it refers to a situation from 2015 that is no longer applicable.
Mr. Usleton, your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the extension of the board policy GBQAB for the 25% for the pay down.
Board, do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Revised board policy DJEC, federal purchase and procurement. Ms. Hutchins.
Yes, sir. We're asking to revise this policy to add language concerning Mississippi's more restrictive purchase of goods and services to be in alignment with Mississippi Code 31713. This addition was recommended by the MSBA.
Mr. Usleton, your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy DJEC, federal purchasing and procurement.
Board, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Revised board policy IDAG, dual enrollment. Ms. Hutchins.
We're asking to revise this policy to include the Mississippi Dual Enrollment Scholarship Program of 2023. The new information discusses eligible students, their requirements, and potential scholarship hours that will go into effect this spring.
Mr. Usleton, your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy IDAG, dual enrollment.
Board, do we have a motion?
I make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Revised board policy JG, wellness policy.
Yes, sir, we're asking to revise this policy to mirror the Mississippi Department of Ed's most recent version of the local school wellness policy guide for development.
Mr. Austin, your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the revised board policy JG for school wellness.
Board, do we have a motion?
Make the motion.
Board, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Alexander.
Sir, personnel packet this afternoon, pages 1 through 4, recommendations, pages 5 and 6, personnel changes. Page 7 is a memo for myself that would raise the daily rate of $90 to $100 for building substitute teachers at the following locations. That's South Haven Middle, South Haven High, Horn Lake Middle, Horn Lake High, Lake Commerce Middle, Lake Commerce High School, I believe it's a total of 11. And this will help us to combat frequently unfilled vacancies at their schools. Those people will go there and they'll be used for a substitute position or to help out in any way possible, any way they can. Page 8 is a memo from Ms. Case, the Centerville Assistant Principal. It's on one of our substitutes, a retired substitute who worked but did not clock in. She's asking, I think, compensated for 5 days. That would be $49 per day. Page 9 is a memo from Ms. Hallmark, Director of Child Nutrition, on 2 employees that worked June the 30th and has to be compensated. They were inadvertently left off the list to be compensated for that day. Page 10 is a memo from Mr. Chase, our Chief Operations Officer, to transfer 1 maintenance tech from plant maintenance to Child Nutrition Department. Page 11 is a memo from Ms. Graves, our Chief Financial Officer, on request for the following 3 schools: Lewisburg High School, DeSoto Central High School, and Hernando High School. They would add a school finance clerk to those locations. These locations average receipt of over $1 million for student activity funds per year. This is quite higher than the rest. And this position would be employed for 230 days per year for the clerical scale. Pages 12 and 13 is the job description that those school finance clerks would follow. Page 14 is a memo from Ms. Graves, to add 1 additional surplus property clerk to the finance department. This is due to high volume of fixed assets being picked up and sold for surplus. This position would be 230 days and be paid for the data support pay scale. Pages 15 through 17 is the surplus property clerk job description. Pages 18 and 19 is the job description for elementary school principal, and the only change is they're reporting now to who they're reporting to. And directly to pages 20 and 21 is the job description for secondary school principals, and that changes who they're reporting to also. Page 22 is a request for additional pay from the Scouts, our Director of Special Education, on a net chair change at DeSoto Central High School. This will be allotted the remaining 15 hours. They're well. For the year, that's at $30 per hour. That would begin 10/6 and end on 6/30/24.
Mr. Austin, your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve personnel as presented.
Board, do we have a motion?
I make that motion.
Board, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. Mr. Penny, student discipline.
Mr. Chairman, we have student discipline matters to address in executive session.
Thank you, sir. At this time, as a board, we welcome public participation in our board meetings. While this is not a debate setting or a question and answer session, we reserve this time at our regular meeting for public comment and for citizens who have requests to appear. Board policy allows for 30 minutes for public comment. Public comment involves student matters or personnel matters must be heard one at a time in the executive session. Each person who wishes to comment will have up to 5 minutes to speak until the 30 minutes has been reached. When I ask for public comment, please state your name, and if you have a student matter or a personnel matter, please state that information as well. Do we have anyone here who wishes to comment? Do we have anyone here who wants to comment in executive session?
Excuse me, can you ask that question again? I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Can you just, you said something.
Name,
My name is Janelle Hankerson. You just said something about anyone want to comment in the executive session. Was that referring to Mr.? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard you correct. Thank you.
okay, is, Ms. Washington here?
I am.
You'll be heard in executive session. Okay, well, go into, have a motion to go into executive session for discipline matters, maybe personnel matter.
Request for you.
No personnel matter, just,
And the request to appear.
and what?
And the request to appear.
Oh, okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we will go into next executive session and Mr. Chase will come out in a minute or two and, we will vote to see if we need to stay in executive session.
Can I have a vote, please, for the motion to go into closed session? Can I have a vote, please, for the motion to go into closed session? He's made the motion to go
Okay.
into closed session. May I have a vote, please?
Okay, I thought we voted downstairs.
We'll vote here and in there.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we have the vote then. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.